Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we always love highlighting Belmont University. In this case, we're talking about Belmont University Executive Education. We're honored to have with us Dr. Melanie Lashlee Adams, Executive Director and Principal Consultant, Executive Education at Belmont University. How are you doing?
I'm great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Well, you all do a lot with the executive education at Belmont University. And so before we talk about online and in person and executive coaching and so much more, let's start with an overview about Belmont University, and then we'll dive into executive education.
Excellent. Thanks. So yeah, we are in the heart of Nashville, a wonderful university. We have a variety of undergraduate and graduate programs delivered in person. We have some great online graduate programs that we've just launched in the last couple of years. Great music business programs, business school. We have a new College of Medicine, variety of programs, and just a great, vibrant student body on campus. It's really a great place to be, a shining light in the middle of heart of Nashville.
Well, let's dive into your world. When you talk about Belmont University executive education, there's in person, there's online, you're doing a lot, but how do you describe overall the work? And then we'll dive specifically into the different programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I describe us as the professional, organizational, and leadership development consulting arm of the university, of the larger Belmont University campus. We work with organizations and industries of all sizes, both in Nashville and across the state, across the region, all across the country even. We design and deliver custom leadership and professional development programs, and we also offer individual leadership and executive coaching, organizational development consulting for partner organizations that we work with. And then we offer a variety of programs and workshops that are open to the public on an individual basis. Again, all of that both in person and online, so a very wide footprint, lots of unique offerings.
When you're starting out a conversation to see what's the best fit, I know you've got some that people can plug into, like those different workshops and seminars and things like that. But you also, to your point, have executive coaching and very customized solutions. So what are the questions you like to ask? What are the things you're looking at to figure out where the best fit is in terms of where to start with an individual or organization?
Absolutely. Great question. So with organizations, we typically start with, asking about the culture of the organization and the culture as it relates to developing leaders and developing talent and developing that long-term talent pipeline, understanding where they have challenges right now, what their goals are for leadership and leadership capability in the near term and the long term, understanding what are some of those key areas that organizations have identified that are the critical skills and capabilities that they want leaders to embody every single day that helps them have the impact on those larger organizational strategies and goals that they're tasked with, kind of being responsible for carrying forward. So we really try and understand the unique nature of each organization that we work with, and then come alongside with some really custom tailored support to help build those unique capabilities in those unique cultures. We do sort of a very similar process when we're working on an individual basis with leaders as well, really understanding where they are now in their leadership trajectory, where they are aspiring to move towards, what their organization is really depending on them to achieve on behalf of the larger goals, and what support they feel is critical to help them get to that place. So we really take a very unique, customized approach to every person that we work with, every team we work with, every organization we work with.
So we'll dive in a second to very specific things like conflict resolution and those. But when you look at, from a larger vantage point, when you talk about executive leadership and leadership in general. It's getting away from the specific title. It's mentoring and pouring into others and, teaching them to be able to thrive, building team and culture. And so talk about some of those kind of macro elements that tie into executive leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I usually start with when working with a leader or a team is kind of understanding that leadership is not about a position. Having an effective approach to engaging and inspiring others can come from and should come from other places, not just that position of authority. And so, really understanding again what impact do you want to have, and what are your strengths and your skills that already exist that can help you achieve that impact? What are some things that are maybe your own unproductive behaviors or some of those challenges that exist within the context of how you live and work every day that make it challenging for you to have that impact? And so building that awareness is such a cornerstone of what we do in our programs and when I'm working, again, individually with leaders. And we, again, apply those same concepts to working with teams. So understanding kind of how effective is your team right now? What are some goals that you have as a team to really have that greater impact, have that higher level of effectiveness and productivity, and really looking at, sort of where's that gap and how can we help teams and individuals close those gaps?
I alluded to the conflict resolution. That's one, it's kind of an upcoming event, but you also too have different things that you do, everything from event planning and beyond. Mm-hmm. But touch on when you talk about like kind of specific curriculum and topics that you weave in throughout, what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, we usually recommend starting with understanding who we are as leaders or as individual contributors who have great impact as well. So most of our programs start with a component of what we call leading ourselves. I believe that leadership growth and impact really starts with kind of deep self-awareness and understanding, again, as I mentioned, sort of where our strengths are, where our kind of unproductive behaviors might be. And within that topic of leading ourselves in kind of a general topic area, we have a lot of things that we cover. Really, again, understanding things like our communication style, understanding how we tend to react and show up when we're under stress, when we're not under stress. So really knowing those differences. And that's really a foundation for so many of those other critical leadership capabilities. When as a leader, as an individual, when I understand how I communicate, how I react in certain situations, that can really be a catalyst for really powerful personal and leadership change. And I think when we have self-awareness as a leader, that awareness can then ripple out. So if we're really aware of the things that matter most and sort of how we are showing up, we're able to build trust more intentionally, which is another one of those cornerstone topics that we talk a lot about. And from that, teams can become more open and we collaborate in stronger ways with one another, kind of all the things that we tend to want to accomplish as leaders. But I think it really does start with kind of that deep dive into self-awareness. And the other piece of starting with self-awareness is when we have greater awareness of ourselves, we also tend to notice and have the capability to adapt to the needs of others, which again, those are those critical leadership skills. So all of that kind of falls under the umbrella of emotional intelligence, which we always talk about. It's not just a nice to have as a leader. It's what helps you develop a healthy culture in your team or organization and helps you as a leader navigate challenges a little bit easier.
And I think a lot of times you hear that phrase where, people don't leave a company, they leave their boss or the
Absolutely.
leader. And so,
yeah.
There's powerful, pieces of this in terms of increased productivity and culture and all that, but also too, like, employee engagement, retention, activation, like all of these things that to me go into leadership and the ripple impact in the community, the relationships, the philanthropy, the engagement, community service, like all of this being a servant leader that creates a powerful lift for the community as a whole. And so I think a lot of this has a very powerful ripple impact in the community above and beyond the workplace and the culture that you're building and the retention that you're, yes. providing for your company, which is to me really good. Talk about some of those kind of intangibles that really are powerful pieces of what you're doing.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, hearing you say that, one of the things that we often talk about in our sessions is these are not just the skills and capabilities that help serve you well as a leader or with your team. These are things that are transferable outside of the context of your work lives. These are things that, focusing on, building trust and really tuning in and being intentional about listening to and observing other people for what their needs are, where they start to shut down, where they start to perk up and pay attention. That has powerful impact in any relationship. Again, community, home, as a parent, doing that, paying attention to your child, your spouse, your partner, such critical skills. And I think we don't often give ourselves the gift of time to really reflect and consider, some of those small shifts that we talk about making from a leadership development standpoint, how those really can impact in a lot of the ways that you've just noted.
Well, I think it's interesting too, just hearing you talk. It's like I have to have conversations because I volunteer coach, our younger son for tennis. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
do you want me to be dad or do you want me to be coach right now? Like,
Yeah.
so but it's kind of the same thing even in the workplace. Like, especially with a difficult conversation, do you want me to be kind of a mentor with this or do you, so having that
Exactly.
sort of empathy, respect for each other, and especially when it comes to, conversations that can be a little bit more difficult, to me, there's really powerful ways to handle it in terms of leadership versus something that's going to have a negative consequence. And so I think all of these are really important, just conversations to make you a better person and a better
Yes.
leader.
Yeah.
Carry that into from an online aspect, especially there's obviously different tracks, different timing. What does that look like in terms of, because you have shorter certificates as well, but talk about timing and structure for these different programs.
Yeah, great question. So we have a variety of programs that we offer in what we call our open enrollment space. So open to individuals. We have some certificate programs. So we have one called Leadership Essentials, which is several sessions, topics, a lot of the topics that we're talking about that we feel like are those kind of universal need, foundational, really critical leadership topics that we cover in half day or full day sessions. Those are virtual or in person, depending on kind of when we're running the program, what that format looks like. We also have some short course, 2-hour, half-day workshops that we deliver virtually. Topics like, leading change and managing conflict and kind of mitigating some of those more difficult situations with composure and confidence and the skills and capabilities needed for those. And then we have some certificate programs that are very specific topic areas that are more industry focused. We have a certificate in financial planning that's a long program that meets once a week in the evenings online, and that allows for participants who are interested in sitting for the CFP board exam to have all of their course hours, those sorts of things in order to sit for that exam. We have sessions that run online for Six Sigma. So some of those, those again, very specific skill certificates that we offer. So nice variety of programs open to individuals. And then, again, kind of in our custom leadership space, we do a lot of sessions virtually and in person for organizations around the topics that matter most to them in that leadership development space.
When it comes to leadership, a lot of this is tried and true, right? Like, so it's things that we've seen for years that have worked well and being able to share that. But obviously there's things like when AI, and all of these kind of trends that have shifted some of the conversations too. What are some things on your end, especially positive when it comes to leadership, that are fairly new? Like, what are some of the things that you're looking at that are, new classes, new curriculum, new things that you're embedding in that put a smile on your face when it comes to executive leadership?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift in just the last couple of years that, we're talking about a lot with organizations, there's great research out there, there's really great movement across the community in what we would call kind of whole person leadership and whole person focus. So you mentioned servant leadership at the top of our conversation, and I think it's a new version of really kind of thinking about how to serve not just the people to thrive based on their roles and responsibilities, sort of what's in the bullet points of their job description, but making sure that we as leaders are really paying attention to the needs of the whole person and really helping to support that whole person focus. I think that's a shift that's happened in the last couple of years, kind of coming out of the pandemic. And since then, people really evaluating how they spend their time, what matters most through those years. From that, now we have this focus on really caring for the whole person as a leader. Really, I usually start with, how do you want to feel at work? And if we can think about from a leadership perspective, helping people feel the way they want to feel. And so usually those responses when I ask that question at the start of a session on a topic like that, we're talking about we want to feel, safe and included. We want to feel like it's almost a family experience. We want to feel challenged and we want to feel supported. And so you put all of those words together, and that's not just about, I want to perform what I'm supposed to perform. It's, I want to feel, I want to feel valuable, and I want to feel like I'm doing something meaningful. And I think that's a really interesting shift that has happened in the last couple of years. So that's a great topic that can go in a lot of different directions, just in terms of, again, thinking about skills and thinking about kind of some of those leadership behaviors. And I think embedded in that is that conversation about building trust within our teams. I think that as we are sort of shifting towards that caring for the whole person from a leadership perspective, that really requires that we know and understand people and that they feel comfortable to share with us who they are, how they're doing in a variety of aspects. And it's challenging for people to feel comfortable to do that if there's not that foundation of trust and psychological safety that's been built.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Well, we'll definitely have to have you keep coming back on talking about all these very important topics, but let's wrap up with where individuals, organizations, where can they go to learn more, take those next steps to connect in with you and get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So we reach out to us online, belmont.edu/executive education. You can Google Belmont University executive education and get to us. You can find my information on our website if you want to book a consultation call with me to talk about, kind of what's going on in your leadership life or just life in general. Would love to connect with the audience. And you can find on our website, you can find our calendar of upcoming programs. You can find more information about executive coaching and our custom workshops that we design and deliver.
Makes it easy. Well, Dr. Melanie Lashlee Adams, thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.